Welcome or welcome back to Betide, and this is the third part of the Edgegap Integration Kit series. If you have not watched the first two parts, the link for them is in the description. Let's start with the good news. Edgegap Integration Kit is free on the Fab marketplace. I think we just call it Fab or something like that. So it's free on the personal license of EGIK is now free. Thanks to the Edgegap team is sponsoring the personal tier. Now, one thing before we start, this video had to cover backfill and group matchmaking, but it became a 1 hour long tutorial, so I cut it short, and I will be covering backfill and group matchmaking in the next part of the video. In the next part of the series, this one covers complete matchmaking from start to end, how you could get that up and running, how you could cancel matchmaking, or how you could get environment variables. That said, let's get started. If you need any help, let us know on Discord. Thank you. So let's get started by adding a button for start matchmaking. This is again just something that I'm going to speed up because I just add a single button like in the part 2 of the video. Now on the pressed event for this, before that, let me just comment the previous create deployment code, and yeah, this is something I can fast forward. Create a new variable named matchmaking ticket ID. This should be a string, and save it. Now why this will be used to find out if we are currently matchmaking or not, and then on the button itself we will check if we have to enable or disable the button based on this. So basically create a binding for the text itself, and let's just rename it to something like if the matchmaking should be cancelled or enabled, and then get the matchmaking ticket here, check if it is empty, and if it is, we can just make a format or select format and select. Okay, I think we could do directly here. So if this is empty, then the button will say start matchmaking. Start matchmaking. And if it's not empty, basically we already are matchmaking, we'll just give a cancel matchmaking button. Now when that is done, make a on pressed event. So again, we will just check if we have to matchmake or we are already matchmaking is empty. So if we are already matchmaking, we will work on the delete matchmaking ticket logic later in the later half of the video here. If it is empty, that means we need to start matchmaking. That means we need to create a ticket. So matchmaking, create matchmaking ticket, and we need to pass a few values in the matchmaking struct. Before that, go to plugins and enable the JSON plugin. Now, if you use VRest, you can use that, or this JSON plugin now comes as a part of the engine itself, which I prefer to use because anything that's already in the engine is always better. So let me get that back here, and yeah, let's make a struct, and we need to pass a few things: profile, real IP, player IP. So these real IP and player IP and auth codes, most of this we will get from Edgegap itself. What we need to do is we need to pass attributes for which we need JSON field. So make a primary matchmaking object, and now we need to create a matchmaker to pass the values to it. So let's go on the matchmaker's website, on matchmakers section on the Edgegap portal, and create a matchmaker. Now we need a configuration file which we are going to make, but there are two types of clusters. There is a paid cluster wherein you have 3 types of matchmakers, wherein the hobbyist is 54 and then the studio is a little bit more than that. You can select, and you can even ask about the differences in the Edgegap's server, but the major thing is how many people a server can handle, a cluster can handle. Now we need to make a JSON config for the matchmaker. So the simple example will be enough for us. Please note that this simple example has changed over the months that this video was recorded in, so make sure you copy it from the website and not or you won't even look at it. But yeah, so the profile section that you see here, this simple example is what we pass in the Unreal node. And then this application and version name is what your game's application and version name is, which we created in the first video. So it's EGIK tutorial, and then the version is this one. So we can copy the version name and set it for the matchmaker. So the matchmaker will deploy this version name of this application. Now the next thing is, if we go back, we can see we have advanced examples where we have a lot of rules which you can like ELO rating and stuff like that. We won't be going that deep. We will be working on backfill and group matchmaking in the next video, but for now we will have a string equality type field. So I can show you how you could basically have a game mode selector or something like that. Now this overlap thing means if you pass an array and any of these things overlap, then you will have the value to true. But in your JSON config, just add a game mode selection of type string equality. So when two tickets come, Edgegap will see if they both have the same game mode. If they do, they will be matched together. Same with intersection, wherein both the players send an array of maps they want to play in, and if it matches, they will be matched together. This is just an example, of course, not like game mode is just an example. You can have any value. So select the video config.json. I named the file video config.json, and then you can name something. You can name the matchmaker and create and start. I am going to run it on the free cluster because I can, like, it's free for testing. And this video was recorded during the October time, as I said in the first part. So you see a little bug, the red thing that you see on the background, that is no more the case, and it works perfectly now. It's perfect. Just remember that meme. It's perfect. Okay. So give it a second. It should be pretty quick and up and running. Now the UI has changed a bit, but still it has all these values. So pass in the auth token here, and then the matchmaker URL is the URL that you get here. This never changes for a matchmaker, so you don't need to worry about. When you have the URL, you can just copy and paste it here. And the editor is very good. So below you have that edit configuration. When the matchmaker is off, you can edit the configuration here itself. You don't need to do it in VS or something like that. And it has gotten better over the time. So you can directly edit versions here itself. So now that it's running, let's copy the API URL which we got and paste it here. Now we need to pass in the profile and attributes. So the profile name is this simple example. And then we need to pass in the attribute which we need to make here. So this primary matchmaker object. So let's just convert it to string, to string, and make it here. And pass the JSON. Okay, now the thing that we had in our array is the game mode. So we need to pass in the game mode selection that we made. So have the same variable name here and pass in the value. You need to pass a string value, and this is a wildcard entry. So you can wildcard extract or something like that it's called. I forgot, but that's a wildcard value. So you can just make a literal string and pass the value here. Till Royle. Now the two players will have the same value, so they will be matched when we test. And then when this is done, you can print the error in case we get any. I think we will get error for not passing the beacons value, but we are going to do that after this. Let me just show. And then on the success, break it, and you have the assignment and the ticket ID. So we will set the matchmaking ticket ID here, so that we can have that button set to cancel or stuff like that. But this assignment is used if the server is running, but mostly the server takes a few seconds. So you need to make a timer and keep on checking if the server started or not. This is the same logic for PlayFab or any other matchmaker. So that is not something we can do. So make it a matchmaking timer. I just named the timer something. And then create a new event, custom event, check matchmaking status. Spelling is wrong. Yeah. Now we can call get matchmaking ticket, and in the matchmaking request we can pass in the matchmaking ticket ID which we got, and it's stored in the matchmaking ticket, and the URL and the token are same for all the matchmaking calls. Now this is not a project setting because you can have multiple matchmakers and you need this as a variable. Now when that is done, if the server is assigned, this call will tell us, hey, the server is up and running now and you can join it. So if there is a failure in calling the matchmaking ticket, we just print it. We don't need to do anything because the timer will run and we will know when it reaches, it will retry the call after a second. So let's add break it, and we have the assignment here. This is the same thing that's passed on the create ticket too. So add a branch. This is the same thing that we did in the second part. If the server is not null, then we get the matchmaking timer, clear and invalidated. If this is not null, then so it's on false. Make sure it's on false, not on true. And if it's that, if that's the case, then we can get the FQDN and join the server. So we can just make a open level node and then append. Am I making a mistake? As far as I remember, append can directly be called. Maybe I'm just tripping, but yeah. So pass in the FQDN and then a semicolon, and then again add a pin and pass in the external port. So this is the game port that is passed by the matchmaker. You get that in the node itself. Now when that is done, this should work. Although we have not passed the beacons, we will get error for sure. So just checking if I missed something else. Let's work on the latency subsystem then. That's the last thing. So it's pretty easy. There are 615 plus locations that are available for the server, and you can ping 7 of them, and Edgegap will have a rough idea of where the player is located. Again, if you Edgegap will still do a telemetry test to find out the best server for the players, but this is a second layer of check for the location, so it's always better to pass in the beacon locations. That's what Jacob said. I think I pronounced the name right. So you can just make a temp server list, which will be an IP port list, which is passed to Edgegap Integration Kit. It's a subsystem there. And what it's used for is basically when you get the server locations and port, you pass in that to Edgegap Integration Kit, and it pings every server and tells you the latency of it. So okay, let me drag it here. Yeah. So on the completed, just let's get the Edgegap latency subsystem, and from here call start latency test for matchmaking servers. And then in the server list, just pass in the server array that we made, and adding entries to it from the call is pretty easy. Just call add and then add an array element. It only has 3 basic information. One is the location name, which is passed in the location array, which is the city name usually, and then the UDP port and the public IP. We can hide the other values. Oh, yeah, this seems good. Okay, and when that test is done, we can just pass it back to our plugin. So latency test completed. So this list is sorted, so you will know which server is where, and we can just pass the exact same array to Edgegap. So I made a copy of the primary matchmaking object named latency matchmaking object, and then we can just remove the 0 from here, and then we can call set for each loop, and from here set field, and then break this array, pass in the location name here and the value. So the location name and the latency for that location. We don't need the IP and port to be passed, just the location name has to be passed from here. And when that is done, we need this array to be included in the matchmaking request. So we just need to add one more thing in the primary matchmaking object. Just set a field, and the field name is field value is the latency matchmaking object, and field name is beacons or latency. I think it's beacons, but let's test, and if we get an error we will know that yeah, we were right. So yeah, I'm just checking if I'm missing something from my second screen. Just give me a second. No, we are not. Okay. Yeah, so on the main menu, let's play as 2 players, and which should be a standalone because we will be connecting to the server. And let's play and call start matchmaking. I did press, but we did not get any. Maybe there was an error which I did not print. Let's see the output log. Okay, yeah, there is an error, which is basically okay. So yeah, that field should be named beacon, not latency. That's the error, and Edgegap is pretty good in telling you the exact issues, and you can see we pass in the JSON with the field names. Oh, and one more thing, when this video was recorded, you will see the latency was very high, and that was because of a bug, which has been fixed now. Basically there was a delay of 1 second or something like that. I think I forgot, but yeah, that has been fixed, and the latency will be very accurate now. So you see the button converted to cancel matchmaking, and now it will be trying for a session, and you can see the logs are going on because they are trying to find the is null, and then I will start matchmaking on this one too. Both are matchmaking, and we should, let's see if the server starts or not. Let's go to deployments. The server has not started yet. Oh, the server started. And earlier, I think in the last matchmaker, the thing came in, the players came in session, but I don't think that happens now. But yeah, the server will take time because now we are passing beacons, and it will try to find a location. You will see this location is not the best for me. I am in Mumbai, but it's finding a very far out location. That was again due to bug. Oh, we are on the server. These minor things have been fixed. It's 4 months since the beta, and now it's in public release. So I'm not in Africa, I'm in India, so that error has been fixed. So it took 28 seconds, and that is because active caching was not enabled, or if it was enabled, the server, this server is used for the first time. So that's why it took 28 seconds. Normally it's between 1 to 2. That said, let's move on to the next point. Now, when a server is started by Edgegap, basically there you can pass environment variables that is present on the server, and you can read the value of environment variables to do something. For instance, a very simple example is if you have multiple maps and you want a single server build, you can pass the name of the server, which I will show. You can pass the level name in the matchmaker, as we already passed the game mode. You can pass it in the same way, and you can open up a level. So for that, you need to use a game instance Now it's not the you can use it even in a widget, but the best place to do any persistent stuff is in the game instance. Now after a delay, normally, because event in it runs pretty quick, whenever the server will start, you just get the environment variable value and then do something. But I can remove the delay as of now and just do a simple get environment variable function. Get environment variable. So in our case, when the matchmaker matches 10 people with the same game mode, with the same game mode value, The game mode value will be passed to the server in an mm_intersection or something like that. No, it won't be under intersection, it would be under equality. But when the server starts, you can see the value of it in the logs too. So intersection will have the value of the intersecting value in an array, whereas in mm_equality we will have the game mode value. But for now, again, this is a few months old video, so I can't go back in time, but the node you should be seeing is on the screen. So this way we will even if you just change it in mm_intersection to mm_equality, you can get the field name and then get the value of it, and you can print it. You can if you have a map name passed here, you can do a open level. I won't be going and showing how this runs because it's pretty simple thing, and I won't even be showing other things because I need to work on the backfill after this. But that said, let's move on to cancel matchmaking because that's the only part left to finish this video off. Let's get on it. The last thing that I just wanted to cover is the cancel matchmaking button. It's pretty simple. Just call delete matchmaking ticket and pass in the matchmaking ticket ID from here. You can pass it in the request, and the matchmaking URL and auth token is available in these functions. One last thing is you also need to clear the timer for this checking, which we do. So you can just get the matchmaking timer and clear and invalidate it. And last thing, just print the failure, and if either on success or like on both success and failure, just set the matchmaking ticket ID to empty. So on the UI you can see that the matchmaking is stopped now. That is it for this video. If you have any doubts, let us know on the Betide Studio Betide Studio's Discord server or Edgegap's server. Edgegap Integration Kit is now free on the marketplace too, on Fab 2, so give it a look there. The next video will be on hopefully matchmaking with a group and backfill, and then Steam, and then Lyra, ending the series there. If you have any other requests, let me know in the comments or just on the Discord. Discord is always better. Bye bye, take care.